Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Oh boy, let's get the party started!
We import 2/3 of our cheese. That is a disgrace.
Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folk, the United Kingdom, or should I say the not-so-United Kingdom, continues to self-implode on itself. Scotland wants out, there's turmoil in Northern Ireland, Wales is actually, I think, sitting pretty comfortably, they're just doing their own thing and being a half Welshie, big up the Welsh. England... Honestly, if you're an outsider looking in, it's not a great time for the United Kingdom. We've just had a new Prime Minister, the fourth new Prime Minister in 6 years, might I add. They're clearly doing a great job. The new gal in charge is Liz Truss, a former Foreign Secretary, maybe not as charismatic as former Prime Ministers, some would say.
In December, I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
But by God, just like her predecessor, she's already, and has been for years actually, been delivering prime meme content.
Do you, conference, believe that? Do you?
But I'm not here really to talk about Liz Truss today. I'm here to talk about her new Culture Secretary, Michelle Donelan. Now, if you've watched some of the previous unscripted discussion videos I've done that have touched on things like BBC News or just TV stuff in general, the former cult sec, Nadine Dorries... Oh, Nadine. Nadine Dorries publicly said, she was going to scrap the BBC licence fee. She wanted to privatise Channel 4 so that it could compete with Amazon because, that's something apparently Channel 4 needs to be doing. And a whole bunch of other things. She couldn't get her rugby stuff right. Downstreaming, you ever heard of that one?
We're responsible for making sure you have superfast broadband in your home. That means you can downstream your movies.
But hey, she's gone. Apparently she was offered to stay as cult sec. That's a terrifying prospect, but thankfully, for our mercies, she decided to step back. She wants to go back to writing books. I don't know what her books are about, and let's face it, she'll probably get a peerage from Boris or someone else, and she'll go in the House of Lords and continue to be a nuisance there. Now, like a lot of people, especially someone who works in the culture sector, as an actor, someone in the entertainment business or the creative business, if you like, I took a solitary moment to celebrate.
I walk around like that.
But Michelle Donelan, now obviously when Nadine went, a lot of people said, right, that's it, the BBC's alright, Channel 4 is going to be saved. Not necessarily. The BBC itself, in true to form, whenever it's under threat, decides to write articles on itself, which I always love. It says, Michelle Donelan, new culture sec, unafraid to take on culture wars and the BBC. So let's have a little read about Michelle and what she stands for. New UK culture sec Michelle Donelan has eye-catching experience in the worlds of media, sport and entertainment. After a previous job with US wrestling franchise WWE? Oh boy. Now she's gearing up for political combat over issues ranging from online regulation to the futures of Channel 4 and the BBC. So fair enough to her, she has worked within the realm of media. I guess that's something. This part, titled Forthright Views, while there she was known for speaking her mind. This is when she was worked in the Department of Education. As Universities Minister, she talked about students being conned into debt by taking degrees that might not be worthwhile. Now listen, I'm no Tory, I'm the furthest thing from a Tory. Are there some university degrees out there that have purely been made just to capitalise and make money without providing any real skills? Probably yes. I don't have a full list of every single university course, but the thing is, these ones where they say conned, often or not without saying it, they are talking about creative degrees. And sure, I went to a university, a drama school in Liverpool. I technically have my degree in acting. Do I need it to be an actor? No, of course I don't. I mainly went there for the training. It was because the place was affiliated with the university. You got a sort of degree by de facto, but you don't need it. But that's surely up to the student whether they want to undertake that, because it's not necessarily about the degree at the end. In some subjects, it's about what you, it sounds so corny, but what you gain along the way. As Higher and Further Education Minister, Miss Donelan steered the Higher Education Freedom of Speech Bill, which will require universities and student unions to protect freedom of speech. The bill would stop intolerant woke bullies on campuses, she said, making it harder to no-platform speakers or dismiss academics who put forward controversial or unpopular views. Although BBC Radio 4's Evonne Davies highlighted this would also allow Holocaust deniers to speak. Now, this is obviously a massive contention in our world today, the whole free speech thing. I guess most recently seen with Andrew Tate, who has been banned from everything pretty much. I think when it comes to like no platforming and stuff like at university campuses, I've always been of the belief, it's what I learned through my education just from people around me. I always try and hear like both sides of a debate, even if that other side is uncomfortable, controversial, unpopular. However, I do think there is a line. I think when it starts becoming dangerous, when it can really start to have a real negative influence, that's when I'd argue some action may need to be taken. I think Andrew Tate is a prime example of that. A lot of people have said his talk about, hard work and all that sort of stuff is valid. I haven't really delved much into the Andrew Tate thing, so I don't feel like informed enough to comment, but a lot of people have said they sort of admire what he says about hard work. However, what he says about women and just other things like that goes too far. So, but that's my view on it. I do think we can hear both sides of the argument in a lot of cases, especially maybe at university, because if, debate societies and all that sort of stuff, it's a key part of many uni experiences. So I think we can allow even the unpopular stuff. Well, you could argue that's the line that Evonne Davis mentioned there about allowing Holocaust deniers to speak. It honestly baffles me still in this day and age, 80 years after the fact, how we still have people denying the atrocities that went on during the Holocaust. So yeah, so I think freedom of speech, of course, but there is a line where if it becomes dangerous or something like that, then maybe some action needs to be taken. What that is, that's not for me to say. I'm not in that position. Miss Donelan was promoted to Education Sec this July, but resigned after just 2 days as part of the mass ministerial walkout leading to Mr. Boris Johnson's resignation. Yes, a lot of them went there, didn't they? And then the next section, cultural vandalism. Oh, God. Cultural vandalism. I hate these phrases, man. Just so overdramatic. So the first section talks about how she's unlikely to be shy about speaking up against those who she says want to silence their opponents and make others conform to an increasingly narrow ideology. And again, if it's just a case of debating, I think we can. The public is informed enough to hear these opinions and make a decision for themselves. Again, I just think if it becomes dangerous in any way, that's when you need to look at it more carefully. Although it says in April, the 38-year-old wrote despairingly, "We now see trigger warnings slapped on Harry Potter." Wait, what? Trigger warnings? I mean, I haven't read the Harry Potter books in years or watched the films in a while. Are we really getting trigger warnings on those books? You might have to let me know, because I don't know if that's true. We see George Orwell's 1984 branded offensive and upsetting for students to read. I vaguely remember hearing this some time ago. And, 1984, it is a very hard-hitting novel, but that is the point. And if you've seen any of the film adaptations, I watched the 1954 BBC version recently with Peter Cushing. That was still incredibly hard-hitting. So I honestly think, we can have that in schools. But yeah, I do vaguely remember that being said. She's also talked about the cultural vandalism of award-winning books being quietly scrubbed from university reading lists because of their challenging content, and objected to poets Philip Larkin and Wilfred Owen's removal from a GCSE syllabus in an attempt to make it more diverse. Now, again, you've got to keep in mind, I haven't been in university or any sort of education for several years now. I'm guessing this has happened, but I can't 100% verify it. Maybe any of those who are a bit younger might be able to confirm this for me. In terms of a GCSE syllabus, I'm all about making it more diverse. I think learning about a wide variety, if we're talking about, say, English or English literature, I believe learning about a wide variety of literature is important, whether that be British lit or American lit or just worldwide literature. So I'm all for a more diverse syllabus, even though, yes, I acknowledge Philip Larkin and Wilfred Owen's work is very crucial too. Then we get to the Channel 4 sale. Here we go. So obviously this, as it says, it's near the top of a to-do list, if you like. This is the big legacy Nadine was trying to push. It doesn't really touch on what her thoughts are on it. It just sort of points out that when Nadine tried to push it, there was a lot of backlash, both from Channel 4 and the media industry itself. And John McVeigh, the chief executive of PACT, which is a trade body representing independent TV production companies, has asked the new culture sector to reconsider. It was nonsensical enough 18 months ago. Now it just seems to be even more nonsensical. And I honestly, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Channel 4, as I've said before, it does not need to compete with things like Amazon. It's in its own lane. It champions British content, British programs of all kinds of varieties. So honestly, yes, it's not perfect. I'd never say it's perfect, but it doesn't need to be privatised. Then we get to the licence fee, and it says the government is also conducting out a mid-term review of the BBC's Royal Charter, which sets out the framework for the corporation's existence, amid a debate about the future of the licence fee and what might replace it. Miss Dorries said the fee would not continue when the current BBC Charter expired at the end of 2027. And in 2019, Miss Donelan said the unfair tax should be scrapped altogether. So sadly, that might give you an indication of where she wants to go with this. She seems to be on the side of Nadine that the license fee needs to go. And, you know, I'll happily acknowledge there are a lot of people who believe the license fee should be scrapped. Now, I'm all in favour of the license fee being adapted to be updated, to be a bit more modern, allow maybe a greater degree of choice than you could argue there currently is now. But I'm not necessarily in favour of the license fee being scrapped entirely. I think it's that thing of, you know, you see people say, oh, I don't watch the BBC or anything like that. But the BBC is so much more than just, you know, BBC 1 and 2. It encompasses all the extra channels. It encompasses so much radio that millions upon millions listen to every day. There's several smaller divisions which focus on local regions, provides a lot of work and opportunities for people in those regions, people who are wanting to come into the media industry. It provides a lot of coverage for those regions as well. All I'm saying is, if we scrap the license fee and say if it went to a subscription model and those who previously sort of said, oh, I don't need the BBC, then didn't pay for it, I think they'd notice a difference. I really do. She started a petition on her website opposing the end of the free television licenses for most over 75s and wrote to the then Director General Lord Hall highlighting the staggering number of BBC managers paid more than 100k and a 1.7 annual payment for one prominent presenter who makes just one appearance a week, which of course is Gary Lineker, who has since taken a pay cut. Apparently that money could pay for 11,000 over 75s. This was a few years ago where it was in fact the government of the time who instructed the BBC to stop providing free license fees, might I add. So yeah, a huge point of contention there. But this is still an ongoing debate. Do I think when those were revealed that some of the salaries for management and staff were too high? Yeah, absolutely. I know, you know, we're all out to make money and we all want to do well, but you know, when you get into your annual pay in the millions, I don't know. I still think that's a bit excessive. There's a bit more as well about the digital and sport aspects and the cultural venues as well. But the thing concludes by saying, beyond the policies, what do we know about Miss Donelan's own cultural interests? Not a lot, yet. However, she did post in June she was a fan of TV soap opera Neighbours. Sadly, though, she was not in her new post in time to persuade Channel 5 to save it. Before anyone starts, I think that's just a tongue-in-cheek way to end it. I don't think she would not have had a power as culture sec to save Neighbours regardless. Okay, so she's a fan of Neighbours, so, you know, I guess is that a good thing? I'm not really sure. So basically, from what we know so far, this is still the early days for this new cabinet, this new government, but it seems that she's on the side of Nadine in terms of getting rid of the license fee, or at least I hope being open to amend it. Channel 4, again, this article doesn't really reveal what she stands on that. I mean, she probably hasn't said it. All I can hope is that she sees some sense and realises that privatisation is not only just the wrong thing for Channel 4, but it's just not wanted. You know, there was a big poll where the vast majority, I'm talking like 95, 96%, said no, it shouldn't be privatised. The Channel 4 bosses don't want it privatised. The vast media industry doesn't want it privatised. But at the end of the day, all we can hope is that Michelle, unlike her predecessor, actually knows how Channel 4 is funded.
Particularly when it's a receipt of taxpayers' money.
It's not in receipt of licence fee money.
No.
It makes its money from commercial operations.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an interesting time. Obviously, the UK is at a very difficult time. Bills are going up. That's a whole other issue to discuss at some point, I suppose. But, you know, this is, in terms of TV and in the media industry, this new face, she might be better than Nadine. It's really too early to tell. All I'll hope is she doesn't continue down the downward spiral that the cult secretary office was on. There are some calls as well that the office is too vast. You know, it tries to cover too many things, so nothing ever gets done. Because this is, of course, the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. And when you think of that, those are 4 huge areas. And yes, I know there's a department, but for one figurehead to cover all 4 of those huge arenas, some say it should be broken up a bit further. Again, a debate for another day. But what do you think about the appointment of Michelle Donelan? Do you think she's going to do a much better job than Nadine, or do you think she's going to be even worse? Just let me know your thoughts down in those comments. Keep it civil as always. Like I was saying, I'm open to hearing both sides. You know, I'm sure there's some of you who may be a fan of this new government. Those of you who aren't, that's absolutely fine. But just try and keep it civil in those comments. Also, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel as well. Really helps us out. I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Hux Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Brittany Fan 1999, Bruce Danton, The Broken Kitsumanoid, and Francine Salazar. are AMTV staff members.